Hey, hello again. Ben Lunsford here, real estate agent in the greater Knoxville area. And in this video, we're going to be talking all about commission. We've talked about getting pre-approved. We've talked about finding yourself a good agent. And we're going to talk about commission. Where I'm at right now, though, is in the Market Square in downtown Knoxville. This is where you can find the farmers market every Wednesday and Saturday, like May through September, May through October, I believe it is. I'll leave the link in the description so you can find the dates for yourself and see when you'd like to come check the place out. But right now, let's getting into commission. First of all, why do we pay a commission? You know what? Why would you bother with a real estate agent, whether you're buying or selling? And for that, what I really want to, I guess, break down is it's the biggest purchase that most people make in their life. Most people are not making many $300,000 purchases or $400,000 purchases or $500,000 purchases or whatever the price is, right? And so it's one of those things that most people, when you're doing something like that, you kind of want some advising. You want some direction from somebody who has been through the process more than once, who has an idea of what to expect, it can prepare you and walk you through the process so that you aren't stressed out. What happens when the loan process doesn't go the way that you expect it to? What happens when the seller isn't acting the way you thought they were going to act? What happens when it's taking longer for your home to sell than you felt like it should? It's been 3 months and you've only had 3 showings. There's a reason that we have professional real estate agents, because we spend a lot of time looking at the market. We spend a lot of time with buyers and sellers, looking at homes, understanding the process, going through inspections. I myself, I've probably been inside over 1,000 homes. And I've been through hundreds of inspections. And so it's one of those things where that expertise and that experience is what you're paying for to help you through the legal process, like looking at the contract and in going through the whole purchase and sale process so that it goes as smoothly as possible. And in the end, you're confident in your purchase and you feel good when you're moving into your new home. That's the whole goal here, is for you to be confident and feeling good about going into making this new move, right? And so, the other part of it, I'm going to go through a whole seller set of videos, I'll say as well. But just briefly, typically, people that list with an agent get 5 to 10% more for their home than for sell by owners. So I think that kind of speaks to the marketing expertise of most agents. Not all agents. There's a lot of agents that aren't very good. Okay, I'll definitely say that. So getting into the commission then and how it gets paid. There's the way that it has been traditionally, I will say, is that in a listing, you are paying the listing agent a commission. In your listing agreement, it says that you agree to pay X amount. Okay. Now that amount is up for negotiation. Agents can charge whatever they want to. We're independent contractors. They could charge you 10% and you can say, no, I don't want to. And then they can just move on, find the next person, find someone that will pay them 10%. They could charge you 4%. They could charge you whatever. And you can negotiate things. There is no standard. Now, right now, at the time of recording this video, it's 2024, and there's a National Association of Realtors lawsuit. And there's a lot of hubbub about that in the media and a lot of false information, a lot of fake news about, no more 6% commission, and we don't have to pay the buyer side, and there's all kinds of stuff like that, right? I want to dispel a few myths. Right now, the only thing that's changing is that the MLSs owned by the National Association of Realtors or that are kind of tied there, okay? Because not all MLSs are tied to the National Association of Realtors. And so All the ones that are will no longer be able to show or present that the listing agent is sharing the commission with the buyer's agent. That's the real big thing that's changing. And so I wanted to kind of dispel, I guess, all the rumors or myths that are out there. That's the biggest change. There's maybe some other minor little things, but that's really the biggest change. Right now, if I go into a listing, I can look down and it will say that they are paying a buyer's agent 2.5%, 3%. That's going away for any MLS that's owned by the National Association of Realtors. Now, let's talk about. I don't want to get into the semantics of the lawsuit, and I guess I could say the reason why I believe the lawsuit happened in the first place is the agents did not clearly communicate with the seller how commission worked. And then later the seller was like, wait, you gave some of the commission to the buyer's agent? That means I paid for the buyer's agent to negotiate against me, etc. Right? And I think they got all mad and hissy and they're settling. And so ultimately, though, I want to make sure we understand some things. When you as a seller sign a listing agreement with a real estate agent and it says you're going to pay them 6% commission, you're paying them 6% commission. What they choose to do with it, it's no longer your money, right? I mean, if they want to pay a buyer's agent to bring a buyer, that's up to them. Because the big issue here is a sale doesn't happen if both sides don't feel like they're winning in some way. It's got to be a win-win for both people. But let me talk about why it's why it's often been that way. As long as I've been in real estate, it's been that way. Well, a buyer has to come up, typically for a conventional loan, you got to have 5% down. Okay. Now there's FHA loans, you can have 3.5% down. So we'll just use that just for kicks. Okay. 3.5% down. Your closing costs are typically going to be in the 3 to 4% range right now. So on a $300,000 purchase, you can expect to have around $12,000 in closing costs, maybe $10,000. So let's just take the lower number, $10,000, 3.5% down. So you're looking at $10,500 down plus another $10,000 for your closing costs. So you need $20,000, and then another 3%, 2.5% for your buyer's agent. Okay, so that's another $9,000. Right? Most buyers don't have all this money. Sellers, on the other hand, typically are clearing a bunch of cash. And so we put it on the seller to pay the commission, and then the listing agent shares it with the buyer or with the buyer's agent. That makes it easier for the buyer to buy a home. And sellers, if it's easier for buyers to buy a home, guess what that means? More buyers. If there's more buyers, guess what that means for prices? Higher prices. Okay? So if you think, I'm not going to do this, okay, you're going to limit your buyers. And if you limit your buyers, you get a lower price. So you just lost the money. So it's not like you're gaining anything by not wanting to do it this way. But also, sellers, when you went and bought a home, you didn't pay your buyer's agent, right? So that's kind of the big thing. In effect, you are paying them by paying the price, and it's coming out of that price, but you're not having to pay out of pocket for it. So that's where this has been they've found it to work well to make it easy for buyers to get into homes. And so it's just the commission has just kind of been that way. And for a long time, I don't know how long exactly, since I've been in business, 2010, we charge a commission to the listing side, but we don't charge anything to the buyer. We take, for the most part, we take what the buyer's agent or listing agent has been given. But ultimately, one of the other things that is changing, at least in Tennessee, is if you even want to see a home, you have to sign a buyer's agency agreement. That buyer's agency agreement could be just for the one listing, for the one property. You could say, I really like this agent, we're going to be there for the long haul, and you can be doing it for 6 months or whatever. But if you want to see a property, you have to sign a buyer's agency agreement that talks about compensation. And one of the things that it says though with compensation is you agree to pay a certain amount, 2.5%, 3%, right? Whatever. Um, but then it says also, right, in our current agency agreement, it says that if the listing agent is offering a cooperating agent a commission, that can be deducted from what you're. So let's say you agree at 2.5%, but the listing agent is only paying 2% to a buyer's agent. Well, that's deducted from the 2.5, so you're only responsible for 1/2%. Okay, um, and so that's a negotiable thing. I mean, it's something you can negotiate with your agent, buyer and buyer's agent, and talk about. And I will say it's something too that I want to keep in mind that if we're us as buyer's agents, I've honestly had people where we've been looking for 9 months and looked at, you know, 40, 50 different places, put in 6, 7 different offers. It's a lot of hours, a lot of work. And I've had clients literally, we looked at 4 houses in one day, boom, picked one. Right? I mean, I had one, I think we looked at 2 houses. And they're like, yeah, this is the one. It's the whole spread. I've helped people with $60,000 condos where, you know, I'm not getting paid a whole lot after working for 6 months, you know, but I've also worked with people that were buying $800,000 homes, and we only went out 3 or 4 times, so it's a whole spread. And that's why they just kind of make it why there's not a flat rate commission. Like if you said a flat, okay, everything I need $7,000 on every single one. Well, person who can only afford a $60,000 or $70,000 condo, where are they going to come up with another $7,000, right? Um, and so it's just been easier to take the listing agent commission and share that with the buyer's agent. And but ultimately, we need to understand is it's all negotiable, and so you can try to negotiate, talk with your agent, say, hey, this, that, or the other thing, and there have been times where at the end of a transaction, I've given up some of my commission to make it all work. The seller has been really ornery, or the buyer has been really ornery, or whatever. And we need to make some adjustments because I want to make a win. I want to win for my client, right? We want to make things work. But there is a process, and not every agent's going to, you can negotiate, but in negotiations, sometimes the answer is no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to work for a 1% commission. I can't survive on that. So, and with that, let's talk about that. Why is the commission typically somewhere for each agent somewhere between 2 and 3%? Sometimes it's more. Some agents charge 7%. Sometimes they charge and they give 3 and they keep 4 or whatever. It's negotiable. But part of the reason is we don't get to keep all of it. We have to give some to our office. Just my basic monthly fees, realtor fees, MLS fees, all those things, about $3,000 a year. That doesn't include any other business expense for selling a property, gas, any of that kind of stuff, right? But also what I got to pay my office doesn't include what I pay my office, and every office is different. So I mean, you could be paying anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 for an office. I've heard of some offices they got to pay $30,000 a year, and so if you're like, ooh, I really want someone from this office, well, they may have a higher thing, and they have got to charge this much because of their fees they got to pay. But also on top of that, we're self-employed. So we pay the full 15.7% or whatever in Social Security. And so like right off the top, like 30+% is going away, taxes are not withheld from our commissions. That commission is the gross amount, and so ultimately, like on a 3% commission, well, after business expenses and taxes and everything else, I'm only getting maybe half of that to actually live on, right? And so it's just one of those things to keep in mind that it's not about greed. There's certainly greedy agents out there. Okay, I'm not saying that, but in general, they've kind of figured out what kind of good numbers are to maintain a business. And so just like go to mechanic, You can go to the doctor. You can go to the dentist, go to, even restaurants, right? You can go to one restaurant and you pay $8 for a meal or $10 for a meal, and you're like, that was pretty crappy. You go to another place, maybe you pay $15 for the meal. You're like, wow, that was really good. Well, there's a cost difference, right? And I saw a sign one time at a mechanic shop said, cheap labor, or was it, cheap labor ain't good and good labor ain't cheap. And I think that's the truth, is when you want real professionalism and experience, it's not going to be cheap, but it is going to get you a good desired result. And so, just something to keep in mind, that if with the biggest purchase in your life, arguing over a couple $1,000s in the long term may not be the best way to go. Going with someone who's cheap, discount, you may get discount service. You may lose some things and on the inspection or whatever. So there's a lot to keep in mind in all of these things. But I think that the biggest thing that I do want to make clear is things are next month, at the time of recording, next month, a lot of things are going to be changing. So buyers, be prepared that you may need to sign a buyer's agency agreement that includes compensation before you even view a property. Even if you're talking to a listing agent on a property, you think, oh, I'll avoid this, so I'm not going to talk to a buyer's agent, which you shouldn't do. Watch my agency video. But the listing agent is going to have you sign a buyer's agency agreement. And in that scenario, they're going to end up being a dual agent, which you don't want to have either, because they're really having a hard time trying to represent both of you at the same time. And so there are some changes coming, and but it should hopefully be more clear about what's expected, and it'll force agents to actually talk with you about commission and money up front, so everything's clear as you go through the process. So I want to check my notes. I think that sums up, really commission. I didn't want to go into, there's a lot more I guess we could talk about. If you got questions, let me know. But for now, I hope this gives you a little bit of insight into how commission works and why. Ultimately, it's easier for the whole process. It's easier for buyers to get into homes. Ease of getting buyers in means higher prices for sellers. And to me, that sounds like a win-win. So if you have questions, or if you want to start planning, thinking about your next home purchase, my info is in the detailed description below, and I would love to chat with you. Feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I'm going to end the video with some of the shots here of the market square and the farmer's market, and feel free to check it out. I hope this has educated you. I hope you feel empowered to take the next steps towards your net worth in real estate. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.